The morning started like any other at Earth Defense Force headquarters. Captain James Miller sat at his monitoring station, sipping his third cup of coffee. The holographic displays around him showed the usual traffic of satellites and space debris orbiting Earth. Nothing unusual, until now. A red light began blinking on his console. At first, he thought it was another piece of space junk entering Earth's detection zone. But this was different. The energy signature was like nothing he had ever seen before. "Sir," he called out to Commander Rogers, "we have an unknown object approaching from beyond Neptune's orbit. It's moving fast." The command center burst into activity. Technicians rushed to their stations, and the main screen lit up with data streams. The object was massive, bigger than any spacecraft humans had ever built, and it was slowing down as it approached the solar system. Commander Rogers grabbed his secure phone. "Get me the Security Council. Now." Within hours, the world's leaders gathered in an emergency virtual meeting. The mysterious ship had stopped just beyond Mars' orbit, and more detailed scans revealed its true nature. It wasn't just a ship, it was a masterpiece of engineering, covered in gleaming metals unknown to Earth science. Then came the transmission. It started as a series of mathematical sequences, universal constants that proved the sender's intelligence. Then, to everyone's shock, it switched to perfect English, along with every other major Earth language. "Greetings, citizens of Earth. We are representatives of the Grand Galactic Empire, extending an invitation of friendship and integration into our vast civilization." The message continued, describing an empire spanning thousands of star systems. They spoke of peace, prosperity, and technological advancement. But Captain Miller noticed something in their tone, a hint of superiority that made his skin crawl. The Empire requested permission to land a diplomatic vessel. After 12 tense hours of global debate, Earth agreed, but with conditions. The landing would take place in neutral territory, a specially prepared site in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, on a massive floating platform. As the Imperial shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, its silver hull reflecting the sunlight like a falling star, Miller stood among Earth's chosen representatives. The landing party included scientists, military personnel, and government officials from every major nation. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss, revealing 3 figures. They looked almost human, except for their height. Each was at least 7 feet tall, and their silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Their leader stepped forward, wearing robes that shifted colors with each movement. "I am High Ambassador Vale of the Grand Galactic Empire," the figure announced. "We have watched your civilization with great interest. Your progress from primitive technology to space exploration has been adequate." Miller felt his jaw tighten at the word adequate. Next to him, Dr. Anna Thompson, Earth's leading xenologist, shifted uncomfortably. The ambassador continued, "We offer you the opportunity to join our empire. We will guide your development, standardize your technology with ours, and help you take your proper place among the stars." "And if we choose not to join?" Commander Rogers asked, his voice steady. The ambassador's expression didn't change, but the temperature seemed to drop several degrees. "All developing civilizations eventually join the empire. It is the natural order of things. We provide protection, technology, and guidance. In return, we ask only for cooperation and resources." As the ambassador spoke about the empire's glory, Miller noticed something odd. Every movement, every word seemed rehearsed, as if they'd done this hundreds of times before. And perhaps they had. The meeting ended with the ambassador presenting Earth's leaders with a data crystal containing information about the empire. As the shuttle took off, returning to the massive ship in orbit, Miller turned to Dr. Thompson. "Did you notice how they never once asked us about our own achievements, our culture, our wishes?" Dr. Thompson nodded slowly. "They didn't come to meet us," she said quietly. "They came to collect us." That night, as analysts began poring over the data crystal's contents, emergency meetings convened in every major capital. Humanity had reached a crossroads, and their next decision would determine Earth's fate among the stars. What the Empire didn't realize was that humanity had already made its choice. They just didn't know it yet. 3 days after first contact, the Empire's assessment team arrived. Their ships were smaller than the first one, but just as impressive, descending through Earth's atmosphere in perfect formation. 5 vessels landed at different points around the globe: New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, and New Delhi. Dr. Anna Thompson watched from her laboratory in London as the Imperial assessors set up their equipment. They moved with mechanical precision, each step seemingly copied from a manual. Their silver uniforms gleamed under Earth's sun, and their tall forms towered over the human observers. "Fascinating technology they have there," said Robert Hayes, her assistant, pointing at a device that floated without any visible means of support. "But doesn't it seem a bit old?" Dr. Thompson nodded slowly. She had noticed something odd about the Empire's equipment. While advanced, it all looked identical, as if it hadn't changed in centuries. The lead assessor, who called himself Inspector Prime, approached their observation post. "We will now begin our standard evaluation of your civilization level," he announced. "Please provide access to your historical records, technological databases, and cultural archives." What happened next surprised the inspector. Instead of the usual awe and immediate compliance he expected, Dr. Thompson smiled politely and replied, "We'll share information on a reciprocal basis. For each piece of data you request, we'd like to see equivalent information from the Empire." The inspector's silver face showed the slightest twitch, the first real emotion they'd seen from an Imperial representative. Meanwhile, in New York, Captain Miller had been assigned to monitor the assessment team there. He watched as they examined Earth's technology with their scanning devices, but something caught his attention. Every time they encountered unfamiliar tech, they seemed confused. The Empire's team spent nearly an hour trying to understand a quantum computer that Earth had developed. Their own computers, while powerful, still used conventional processing methods. "Your computing methods are unusual," one assessor commented. "They do not follow standard Imperial protocols." Miller couldn't help but smile. "We developed them ourselves," he said. "Trial and error, mostly. Lots of different approaches until we found what worked best." The word "different" seemed to disturb the assessor. Back in London, Dr. Thompson was deep in the Imperial historical records they'd received in exchange for Earth's data. What she found disturbed her deeply. Every civilization the Empire had integrated followed the same pattern: first contact, assessment, then complete absorption into the Imperial system. Their technologies were standardized, their cultures homogenized, their resources harvested. She immediately sent a secure message to the United Earth Council. "They're not here to help us grow. They're here to make us conform." The assessment continued for 3 more days. Earth's military leaders noted that while the Empire's technology was advanced, it was predictable. Every ship was identical. Every weapon followed the same design. Every tactic came from the same playbook. But what truly worried the Imperial assessors was Earth's military diversity. One nation's forces trained differently from another's. Each country had developed unique weapons and strategies. It wasn't the standardized, efficient system the Empire preferred. On the 4th day, Inspector Prime called a meeting with Earth's representatives. "We have completed our initial assessment," he announced. "Earth's civilization level is—" He paused, consulting his datapad. "Problematic." "Problematic?" Commander Rogers asked, standing beside Dr. Thompson. "Your development is chaotic, unstructured. You have multiple competing systems where one would suffice. Your technology evolves in random directions rather than following proper guidelines. This must be corrected before integration can proceed." Dr. Thompson stepped forward. "And how exactly would you correct this?" The inspector's answer chilled everyone in the room. "We would provide standardized systems to replace your current infrastructure. Imperial educators would help restructure your society. Your resources would be properly allocated for the greater good of the Empire." As the inspector spoke, Dr. Thompson noticed Captain Miller slip quietly from the room. She knew where he was going, to deliver their findings to the United Earth Council. The Empire didn't just want to help Earth join the galactic community. They wanted to remake humanity in their image. The assessment was complete, but it hadn't gone the way the Empire expected. They thought they were evaluating Earth, but Earth had been evaluating them too, and humanity had found the Empire wanting. Major Tom Walker had seen many strange things in his 20 years of military intelligence, but nothing like this. He stood in a hidden observation post, watching the Empire's cultural integration team build their first Earth base in the Australian outback. Their massive machines moved Earth and assembled structures with perfect precision, but something felt wrong. "Sir," his assistant whispered, handing him a tablet. "You need to see this." The screen showed satellite images of similar Imperial bases being built in Africa, South America, and Asia, all identical, all following the exact same pattern. But it was what lay beneath these bases that worried him. Deep scans revealed massive mining equipment, far more than needed for a simple cultural center. "They're not building embassies," Walker muttered. "They're building extraction points." At the same time, in the Pentagon's Cyber Defense Center, alarms were blaring. Imperial ships in orbit had launched their third attempt to penetrate Earth's computer networks. But unlike the first two silent probes, this one was aggressive. "They're trying to access our defense systems," shouted Lisa Green, head of cybersecurity. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she coordinated the global response. But something's weird about their attack pattern. The Empire's cyber assault was powerful but predictable. They used the same approach every time, like they couldn't imagine their superior technology would fail. Earth's diverse network of quantum computers and traditional systems created a defense the Empire hadn't expected. They couldn't break what they couldn't understand. In London, Dr. Thompson was working late again, analyzing data from the Imperial bases. Her office walls were covered with charts and graphs, all showing the same disturbing pattern. The Empire wasn't just building bases. They were positioning themselves to take control of Earth's most valuable resources. Her phone rang. It was Captain Miller. "Anna, we've got trouble," he said without greeting. "The Empire just landed 3 more ships. They're calling them training vessels, but our scans show they're packed with weapons." "They're getting impatient," she replied, looking at her latest findings. "Tom Walker sent me data from Australia. These bases they're building, they're not what they seem." "None of this is what it seems," Miller agreed. "But we found something else, something that might give us an edge." He explained that Earth's military analysts had been studying the Empire's technology. Despite being advanced, it was all based on the same principles, the same designs they'd used for thousands of years. They had stopped innovating, stopped adapting. Every solution came from their ancient database of approved technologies. But humanity was different. Earth's scientists had developed technologies the Empire had never imagined. While they relied on standard faster-than-light drives, Earth had been experimenting with quantum tunneling. While they used traditional shields, Earth had developed phase-shift defenses. The Empire's frustration showed in their actions. Their cultural teams became demanding, insisting on implementing Imperial education systems. Their ships conducted aggressive training exercises near Earth's space stations. Their diplomats made thinly veiled threats about the consequences of non-compliance. Then came the incident that changed everything. An Imperial ship, claiming a navigation error, attempted to land at a major Earth city without permission. Earth's new defense systems activated automatically. The ship found itself trapped in a quantum field, unable to move or communicate. The Empire's response was immediate. High Ambassador Vale demanded the ship's release, calling Earth's defense systems unauthorized and dangerous. But for the first time, his perfect diplomatic mask cracked when Earth simply said no. "You dare refuse an Imperial command." Vale's voice thundered through the communication channel. Major Walker, who was present at the meeting, stepped forward. "We dare to protect our planet," he said calmly. and we're getting very good at it. The evidence was mounting. The failed network attacks, the hidden mining equipment, the weapons disguised as training vessels. The Empire wasn't offering membership. They were planning conquest. That evening, the United Earth Council met in emergency session. Dr. Thompson, Major Walker, and Captain Miller presented their findings. The Empire's true intentions were clear, but so was humanity's strength. Earth had something the Empire had forgotten long ago: the ability to adapt, to think differently, to find new solutions to old problems. The Empire thought they were dealing with just another primitive world to absorb into their perfect, standardized system. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The United Earth Council chamber was packed. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence as they prepared for the most important meeting in human history. The curved walls displayed real-time images of Imperial ships hovering in orbit, a constant reminder of the threat above. Commander Rogers stood at the podium, his voice steady as he addressed the council. The evidence is clear. The Empire isn't here to help us. They're here to take everything we have. Behind him, a large screen showed images from Major Walker's investigation: the hidden mining equipment, the weapons stockpiles, the failed cyber attacks. Dr. Thompson stepped forward next, presenting her analysis of previous worlds the Empire had integrated. Every planet they've touched follows the same pattern, she explained, pointing to before and after images. First, they strip away the planet's unique culture. Then they drain its resources. Finally, they move on, leaving behind a hollow copy of their imperial system. The chamber erupted in angry murmurs. Centuries of human progress, countless unique cultures, all of humanity's potential. The Empire wanted to erase it all. Suddenly, the chamber's main screen flickered. High Ambassador Vale's face appeared, his silver skin gleaming with artificial perfection. "Honorable leaders of Earth," he began, his tone smooth but cold. "We have been patient with your primitive concerns, but now you must choose. Join the Empire willingly, or face complete isolation from galactic civilization. You have one Earth day to decide." The ambassador's image vanished, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. But instead of fear, something else filled the room: determination. Captain Miller, who had been quietly watching from the side, saw something remarkable happen. Nations that had been rivals for centuries began working together. Military leaders shared secret technologies. Scientists combined their research. For the first time in history, humanity stood truly united. The Council's president rose from her seat. "We don't need a day to decide. We know our answer now." "Dr. Thompson, is Project Firewall ready?" Dr. Thompson nodded. "We've combined the best defensive technologies from every nation. Quantum shields, phase shift barriers, and something special we've been working on. The Empire won't know what hit them." Major Walker added, "Their systems are predictable. They haven't faced a real challenge in thousands of years. They've forgotten how to adapt." The president looked around the chamber. "All those in favor of rejecting the Empire's ultimatum, raise your hands." Every hand went up. The next hour was a flurry of activity. Military commands were issued. Defense systems powered up. Earth's own ships, smaller than the Empire's but far more maneuverable, moved into position. Captain Miller sat at his command console, coordinating global defense networks. "All systems are green," he reported. "We're ready." At exactly midnight UTC, Earth sent its response to the Empire. But instead of the submission they expected, they received something unprecedented. The president's voice rang clear across all channels. "To the Grand Galactic Empire, we have considered your ultimatum. Earth rejects your offer of integration. Furthermore, we hereby ban all Imperial vessels from entering our solar system. This is our home, and you are not welcome here." The silence that followed was deafening. For several minutes, there was no response from the Empire. Then multiple Imperial ships began moving toward Earth. "They're trying to call our bluff," Major Walker observed. Dr. Thompson smiled. Who said we're bluffing? She pressed a button on her console. Around the Earth, invisible quantum fields sprang to life. The advancing Imperial ships suddenly stopped, trapped in an energy net they couldn't understand or break free from. High Ambassador Vale's face appeared on the screens again, but this time his perfect composure was gone. This is impossible. You cannot deny the Empire. Your primitive technology cannot. The President cut him off. Our primitive technology, just stop your ships cold. You have 1 hour to retreat beyond Saturn's orbit. After that, we will remove you ourselves. The Empire had never faced such defiance from a lesser world. Their standard protocols had no procedure for this situation. As the Imperial ships struggled against Earth's quantum fields, humanity watched and waited. For the first time in its long history, the Empire had found a world it couldn't simply absorb. Earth wasn't asking to be left alone. Earth was telling them to leave. And this was just the beginning. The Empire had never retreated before. Their massive ships hung in space, trapped between Earth's quantum fields like flies in amber. High Ambassador Vale's 1-hour deadline passed, and Earth prepared to show the Empire that humanity's warnings weren't empty threats. Captain Miller watched from Earth Defense Command as Dr. Thompson made final adjustments to Project Firewall. The system combined quantum technology from India, phase shift barriers from Japan, and energy manipulation systems from dozens of other nations. It was messy, unorganized, and completely brilliant. Everything the Empire hated. Starting shield activation sequence, Dr. Thompson announced. Around her, technicians from every major nation worked at their stations. Phase 1 initiating. The air hummed with energy. Across the globe, thousands of quantum nodes activated simultaneously. In orbit, satellites shifted position, creating an invisible web around the planet. Major Walker's voice came through the comm system. Imperial ships are powering up weapons. They're trying to break free. Let them try, Dr. Thompson said calmly. Phase 2, now. The Empire struck first. Their largest ship fired a beam of energy that could have split a small moon. It hit Earth's partially formed shield and dispersed, like water hitting a hot pan. Impossible. Vale's voice boomed through the communication channels. Your primitive defenses cannot. Shut up, Commander Rogers interrupted, surprising everyone with his bluntness. Phase 3. Dr. Thompson. Show them what primitive looks like. Dr. Thompson pressed her hand against the activation panel. The combined power of every nation's energy grid flowed into Project Firewall. A shimmer spread across the sky, visible even from the ground. A shield unlike anything the Empire had seen before. Shield integrity at 100%, reported Lisa Green from her cyber defense station. Imperial scanning beams can't even read it. They literally don't know what they're looking at. The Empire's response was predictable, because they could only respond in ways their ancient protocols allowed. Their ships formed a perfect attack formation and fired simultaneously. The combined firepower would have destroyed most planetary defenses. But Earth's shield didn't try to block the attack. It absorbed it, redirected it, and sent it harmlessly into space. Their weapons are based on standard energy frequencies, Dr. Thompson explained as she watched the data flow. But our shield operates on quantum principles they've never explored. They can't hurt what they can't understand. In orbit, Earth's smaller defense ships moved into position. Unlike the Empire's identical vessels, each Earth ship was different, built by different nations with different approaches to space combat. Captain Miller took command of the Space Defense Fleet. All ships engage according to your training. Show them why diversity is strength. The battle that followed was unlike anything the Empire had seen in its thousands of years of conquest. Earth's ships darted between the larger Imperial vessels, their movements unpredictable, their attacks coming from multiple strategies at once. Some ships used electromagnetic pulses, others deployed quantum disruption fields. Some simply rammed the Imperial ships' shield generators, protected by their own phase shift technology. This is your final warning. Major Walker transmitted to the Imperial fleet, "Leave our solar system or be pushed out." Vale's response was a stream of threats, each more desperate than the last. The Empire's ships tried to retreat, only to find themselves herded by Earth's quantum fields toward the outer solar system. "They're running," someone shouted as the Imperial ships fled past Mars' orbit. But Dr. Thompson wasn't celebrating yet. She pointed to her readings. "They're not giving up. They're regrouping. This was just their first attempt. And we'll be ready for their second," Commander Rogers said firmly. "Because unlike them, we'll keep improving, keep adapting." As Earth's ships returned to orbit, the planet's new shield settled into a steady glow. In homes around the world, people looked up at the shimmer in the sky, not a symbol of humanity's imprisonment, but of their freedom. Captain Miller stood at the command center window, watching the last Imperial ship disappear into deep space. "They'll be back," he said. "Yes," Dr. Thompson agreed, standing beside him. "But next time, we'll be even stronger. While they stay the same, we'll keep changing, keep growing." The Empire had just learned a vital lesson. Sometimes the best technology isn't the oldest or most refined, but the newest and most innovative. And humanity was just getting started. 2 weeks after Earth's shield drove away the Imperial fleet, the Empire launched a different kind of attack. Not with ships or weapons, but with words. Major Walker sat in his office, watching dozens of screens showing Imperial broadcasts reaching Earth from different directions. The Empire had positioned communication ships just outside the solar system, bombarding Earth with messages. "Your leaders are lying to you," the broadcast said. "The Empire brings prosperity. Earth's isolation will bring only suffering. Demand integration now." But the Empire had made a crucial mistake. They thought humans would react like other species, with fear and submission. Instead, people started making memes about the Imperial messages. Songs mocking the Empire's warnings went viral. Street artists painted murals of Earth's ships chasing away the Imperial fleet. Dr. Thompson walked into Walker's office, carrying a data tablet. "They still don't understand us at all," she said, smiling. "But I think it's time we helped other worlds understand Earth." Her plan was bold. Earth had been secretly recording everything since first contact. Every conversation, every scan, every Imperial tactic. Now they had proof of the Empire's true intentions. Captain Miller joined them, bringing more news. "Our quantum communications array is ready. We can broadcast to every world in the Empire at once, and they can't stop it." The United Earth Council approved the plan immediately. They would show the galaxy the truth about the Empire's integration process. Lisa Green led the cyber team that would handle the transmission. "We're not just sending data," she explained. "We're sending hope." The broadcast began at midnight. On thousands of worlds across the Empire, screens lit up with images from Earth. They showed the Empire's hidden mining equipment, their weapon stockpiles, their failed attacks. But more importantly, they showed Earth's resistance, how a united humanity had stood up to the Empire and won. To all worlds under Imperial control, the message began, voiced in hundreds of languages. "Earth sends you greetings. We are proof that the Empire can be resisted. Their technology is not superior. It is stagnant. Their power is not absolute. It is limited. Their control is not complete. It can be broken." The Empire tried to block the transmission, but Earth's quantum signals slipped through their defenses like water through a net. Their standardized communication systems couldn't stop Earth's innovative technology. Then Earth did something even bolder. They released the complete designs for their basic shield technology to every world in the Empire. "Your worlds can be free," the broadcast continued. "You have your own strengths, your own unique ways of thinking." The Empire fears this. They fear difference. They fear change. But Earth embraces these things, and that is why we are free. The response was immediate. Reports began flowing in from across the galaxy. Worlds that had been under Imperial control for centuries began questioning their masters. Some even started building their own shields based on Earth's designs. The Empire's response was predictable. They sent their fleet to crush the rebellion. But they found their standard tactics failing against worlds that were learning to think differently, to adapt, to innovate. In the Empire's outer regions, 3 worlds declared independence on the same day. They called themselves the Free Systems, and they asked for Earth's protection. Commander Rogers presented their request to the United Earth Council. "We can help them," he said. "Show them how to develop their own unique defenses, not just copy ours." "The Empire won't like that," Major Walker warned. "The Empire doesn't like anything they can't control," Dr. Thompson replied. "That's their weakness." The Council's decision was unanimous. Earth would help the Free Systems, not by giving them standardized solutions like the Empire would, but by helping them discover their own strength. As the first Earth ships prepared to journey beyond the solar system, Captain Miller stood with Dr. Thompson in the observation deck. "We're not just winning a war," she said. "We're starting a revolution." "A revolution of diversity," Miller agreed. "Every world finding its own way." Across the galaxy, the Empire's perfect order was crumbling. In its place, something new was growing, something the Empire had tried to stamp out for thousands of years. Change. And it had all started because one small planet had dared to say no. 6 months after Earth's defense of the Free Systems began, the galaxy had changed more than it had in the previous 1,000 years. Major Walker stood at Earth's primary observation post, watching ships from 20 different worlds move through the solar system. Each ship was unique. Some used quantum drives like Earth's. Others had developed entirely new ways to travel through space. This was exactly what the Empire had always feared: diversity, creativity, change. Another Imperial sector just declared independence, Dr. Thompson announced, walking into the command center with her ever-present data tablet. "That makes 32 worlds this month." The Empire wasn't taking this well. Their massive fleets still controlled most of the galaxy, but their grip was slipping. Every time they crushed one rebellion, 3 more would start. Their perfect system was falling apart. Captain Miller entered, bringing news from the front lines. "The Empire just tried to attack the Centauri Free Zone," he reported, unable to hide his smile. Tried being the key word. The battle footage played on the main screen. The Imperial ships had approached in their usual perfect formation, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they'd found themselves facing the defense network that combined Earth's quantum shields with local technology that manipulated gravity itself. "They retreated in 20 minutes, Miller said. "Didn't even know what hit them." Commander Rogers called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. Representatives from the Free Systems attended via quantum link, their diverse faces filling the screens around the chamber. "The Empire has requested a meeting," Rogers announced. "Not to demand our surrender this time, to negotiate." The chamber erupted in discussion. 6 months ago, the Empire would never have considered negotiating with lesser beings. But things had changed. The Empire's perfect order was crumbling, replaced by something far more interesting: freedom. High Ambassador Vale arrived 3 days later. His silver skin didn't shine quite as brightly now, and his perfect posture showed signs of strain. Earth allowed his ship to land at the same platform where first contact had occurred. Dr. Thompson, Major Walker, and Captain Miller stood with Earth's leaders as Vale approached. He looked older somehow, though no one knew if Imperial beings actually aged. "Earth," Vale began, his voice missing its usual superiority. "You have disrupted the natural order of the galaxy." "No," Dr. Thompson replied calmly. "We've restored it. Nature isn't about perfect order. It's about adaptation, diversity, growth. You forgot that long ago." Vale was quiet for a moment. "The Empire's Council has reviewed our policies. We are prepared to recognize Earth's independence and that of the Free Systems." "That's not enough," Major Walker said. "The Empire needs to change. No more forced integration. No more stamping out diversity. No more stealing resources from developing worlds. Impossible. Vale protested. The Empire has followed the same systems for 10,000 years. And that's exactly the problem, Captain Miller added. A system that doesn't evolve dies. Look at Earth. We have hundreds of nations, thousands of cultures, millions of different ways of thinking. That's not chaos. That's strength. The negotiations lasted for days. In the end, the Empire agreed to reform. They would no longer force worlds to integrate. Each civilization would be free to develop in its own way. The Empire would become more of a trade federation than a controlling force. 1 month later, Earth hosted the first Galactic Free Alliance meeting. Ships of all shapes and sizes filled the sky, each representing a world that had found its own path to the stars. Dr. Thompson stood with her old friends watching the arrivals. "Remember when they first came here?" she asked. "They thought they were so superior. Now they're learning from us," Major Walker said. "And we're learning from everyone else. That's how it should be." Captain Miller nodded. And to think, it all started because we simply said no. Commander Rogers joined them, looking up at the sky where Earth's quantum shield now sparkled with improvements from a dozen worlds. "The Empire banned change," he said. "So Earth banned the Empire. Sometimes the best defense isn't a shield or a weapon. It's simply standing your ground." As the sun set on that historic day, Earth had become known throughout the galaxy by a new title: the world that said no. But more importantly, it was known as the world that said yes to freedom, to diversity, to change. The Empire had wanted to add Earth to its collection of identical worlds. Instead, Earth had transformed the galaxy into something far more beautiful, a vast network of unique civilizations, each contributing its own special way of thinking to the stars. And that was just the beginning. The end.